Hello and welcome back to Europa Universalis 4. I am Lord Forwind, here with another achievement guide. This time it is of Protect the Secret. As Yemen, prevent any European nation from owning a coffee-producing province in the Old World until 1700. So, in order to do this achievement, you can't let any European country gain control of these coffee provinces. Luckily, they're not too hard to hold on to. In fact, your biggest threat will likely be the Ottomans or one of the colonizers over here. You don't have to own these provinces yourself, you just have to prevent anyone from gaining them. Now, there is a chance that coffee can develop over here. I don't know if this technically counts as part of the old world, though. Probably not, but just to be safe, these are the ones you have to own. Starting as Yemen, you control these three provinces, and you're in the middle of a Yemenese civil war, so it's important to subdue your region and expand out of that. In my couple attempts at this, I found the best bet is to subdue the Yemen area. If you can, try and gain as much of this land here before the Mamelukes come for it, or before the Ottomans do. In the event of the Ottomans killing the Mamelukes, usually if you're in southern Saudi Arabia region here, you can find a way to ally yourself to the Ottomans, which will save you tons of grief in the long run, because if you're good allies to the Ottomans, they don't actually tend to kill you, but that's of course, up in the air. This one was a very interesting game for me because the Ottomans actually went after Russia rather than the Mamelukes, but that might have been because I was allied to the Mamelukes from pretty much after I solved the huge 3 or 4 different split of Yemen. There's a country here, and a country down here that you have to subdue. The next best area I found to expand was ironically over here into the Muscat Oman region. Even though trade-wise you don't actually, trade doesn't flow from there. Just because you need the development before you can really go on to take Ethiopia or even Adjaran down here. The big reason Adjaran's still alive is it's allied to the Mamelukes. But once you get about that big, you should be able to gain a tech lead on Ethiopia and then pretty quickly overwhelm them. If you wait long enough, the Oromos will move in and convert this region, which will very much destabilize Ethiopia, and then you can swiftly clean them up. The next thing to do, in my experience, is to make your way over to these coffee provinces that are over here, just so the Europeans don't conquer, say, Benin, who starts here, and pretty much wipe them out, or wipe out Mali. I've seen it happen. It's annoying. The thing to do is you have 2 provinces here you either have to colonize your way through, or you can do what I did and find a small country over here that has half-decent claims and stuff. Jump over to there, vassalize them if you can, feed them the coffee provinces due to wars over cores and stuff. I did this as Noop, I believe I used. And then once you actually colonize your way there, you can just annex them and you got control of it. Since you don't actually have to own this, really all you need to do is own the coast and prevent anyone from wiping out whichever country it is here. Normally it's Mali, sometimes it's Songhai. In this case it was Morocco. It varies. Over here, obviously, you've already got all the coffee provinces if you kill off Yemen, kill off Ethiopia. And Ba'amanis, this province here is either owned by Ba'amanis or Vijayanagar. Usually very safe. I don't know how safe it will be in the next upcoming expansion of Dharma, where people can buy trade provinces, but overall the strategy itself should hold sound. As Yemen, you're actually a pretty powerful little nation. Not a lot of military bonuses outside of your starting 10% infantry combat ability, but it does give you lots of bonuses towards trade and getting institutions and stuff. So actually, I was pleasantly surprised by how good Yemen's ideas were actually playing with them. The initial start, though, was a little bit rough without really any overwhelmingly powerful military modifiers, considering a couple other nations in the area you start in have bonuses in that direction as well. But once you subdue them, you can make a lot of money. What am I making from gold? 1700. I'm making 43 gold, and I made sure not to expand after, what was it, 1560? I never expanded again, really. We can check the timeline, but pretty much just spent most of my time stealing trade from India You can pull a lot of trade from it. There will be a rework of trade nodes and stuff in the Dharma, so you might actually be able to get more trade power out of it, but I was fine with this. An important thing to realize as Yemen is that a navy is actually very strong. Trade ships are going to make you a lot of money trading on the fleet side of India, or just controlling more trade in Aden. But having a couple heavy ships is really powerful because most of these nations over here don't actually field heavy ships. They tend to use galleys. It just helps you subdue the area. Important to note that merchant navy should probably be your naval doctrine for the additional trade power. It will help a lot when making you money. And that's pretty much in terms of general overarching notes. The rest are pretty much what you do for ideas. I find, as usual, if you're starting off, defensive is really solid with the morale and just general reduced attrition because you're in the middle of the desert. And when you're fighting through Ethiopia, this is very Ethiopia tends to take defensive ideas. Plus, it's arid, so you have a higher attrition. Usually, you'll have subdued most of this area by the time you hit defensive. I fell a little bit behind in tech, but since I was allied to the Mamelukes, I felt fairly safe for a while. You can become a great power just by controlling this area and a little bit on this front. Currently, I am ranked 8th in great powers. At one point, I was 5th, then I stopped expanding, and the colonizers took over. Then I found trade ideas because you need the money. Religious, because you're going to need to convert Ethiopia. Humanist does not give you enough tolerance for that, sadly. But you could theoretically do tolerant and give them to Domini, and then you might work it out. I found religious to be easier. Plus, it gives you Deus Volt gives you claims on neighboring heretics and heathens, which is useful. Then I went to exploration. I could have technically gone expansion. Exploration was more because I was hoping to colonize into the New World, but clearly I was beaten to it by France and Portugal. France got a personal union over Spain and annexed them that way, in case you're curious. After that, quality I found was pretty useful because it boosts your already strong 10% infantry combat to 20%. The wars I've skirmished in, I've been capable of smashing Ottoman armies and stuff. Other than that, you don't have any really unique missions. You can become production leader pretty early on. I wouldn't necessarily use it too early, the goods produced, because it only lasts 20 years, and it's more valuable later you wait, but it could be useful in a boost for money. Build to force limit, of course, is key if you're going to expand early because you get that morale, and land maintenance can come in handy. Other than that, you want to focus military tech at the beginning so you can win the wars and expand that way. I'll run a timeline here and I'll try and talk a little bit through the timeline just so people can see where you go. So you start with these three, and pretty much everybody in this area hates you. And the two tries I did, the best people to subdue are Aden itself right here, and then move on to Miklof. Marib, or the Rasads here, start with I think it was like an 8 stack of rebels or something, 8 or 9 stack, and it's virtually impossible to kill early on, so fighting them, you have to have enough troops to beat them, and those rebels have a bonus to morale because they were whatchamacallit rebels, pretender rebels, but at least in my experience they had significantly better morale. I needed defensive ideas to beat them, and then of course sieging down a fort on a mountain is difficult and it takes time. Once you subdue them though, I found you were in good shape. So here we go. I'll pause whenever we get to more interesting things. So initially first wipe them out, then I got a little bit lucky and those guys didn't really have an ally. As you can see, the Mamelukes and Shamar up there are expanding. Next, this actually took quite a while here before I actually managed to kill the rebels. There was like 5 people attacking this nation. In retrospect, probably would have taken out these guys over here, then moved up there, just because how strong those rebels were. As you can see, Ethiopia did very well. I wiped out Mahra in a single war. At this point, I was the strongest in the area outside of Ethiopia and obviously the Mamelukes, who I allied right about here. Then it was an expansion into Oman, mainly because they hated me, and I kind of wanted to see if I could make more money from trade. At the end, I had 2 merchants on either one for a while, and that seemed to help. Then I kind of waited for a while, built up. If I went to the development tab, you can see I would develop both colonialism and the Renaissance. I have Renaissance in the capital, colonialism in Adan, which is the center of trade, which is cheaper. There was quite a waiting period here until I was ready to expand again, mainly catching up in tech because I spent all those monarch points. These are mountain provinces, so developing them is actually rather difficult, but I found it was worth in the long run because I was not only the richest, most powerful, but also developing them specifically with Diplo points gives them more production, which gets you more trade. Considering Mukha here gets +3 goods produced early on, this trade node, this region is very rich. Let's see what else was going on. I'll speed this up a little bit. There was quite a lot of wars and back and forth here. I saw that Hormuz was independent, wiped them out, and then expanded this way. I made a couple mistakes, otherwise I would have been more up here and maybe even dared to fight the Mamelukes, but they vassalized the Hassa, I believe, and the Naj and Enza, and just became really too large for me to fight. For a while there, they were one of the larger nations in the world, and then they kind of declined in development. They had good monarchs for a while, which helped. See Ethiopia here. I allied to the Mamelukes, helped them in their war, and gained control of Zelia down here, which is the center of trade, which is good because it gave me more control over the Aden trade node. I would have liked to beat Adra, but obviously they're allied to the Mamelukes. If you could subdue this region, you'd get pretty much control of the entire trade node and make tons of money. If they're allied to the Mamelukes, though, it's rather difficult. Kilwa down here, if they're allied to Adran, you can still beat them, considering how long it takes to march up. Then it was a lot of subduing of this region. I think it was about this time I actually jumped over here and did a no CB war on them. Yep, because Kana was my vassal. Fed them that land, so that covered all but one of the coffee-bearing provinces. And then the one over here. The big worry is Ashanti here or Mali get to the coast and then get killed by a colonizer. Spain in particular seems prone to invading this. Same thing with Portugal. More Spain than Portugal. Then obviously I just overran these guys. Already a great power. Didn't even need the Mamelukes for these wars. These guys were behind in tech with the Renaissance and colonialism being missing. Plus I just had superior numbers. Then it was pretty much a matter of just using colonists to bridge that gap, then annexing them, feeding Kano a little bit more land. Then I pretty much switched alliances and allied to Morocco. I was not allied to them before, and then between Morocco, me, and Benin, we pretty much were going to control this region anyway. I started colonizing this coast here to prevent any Europeans from getting too close to coffee. Mali is going to get wiped out here pretty early on. I'm not going to expand at all this way. You could. This would be a great area to expand for Yemen. I pretty much hit my full size a while ago, and then I just was sitting and waiting. Did colonize, of course, because I had free colonists. Although next expansion, you'll be able to use the colonists to develop your land internally, which might be worth it to some degree. But right there, I was already one of the larger nations in the world, capable of easily taking on any Europeans. Since this has got a couple trade nodes in rich areas, getting global trade is rather easy. Renaissance probably would need developing, but that's at 1700. And then it's pretty much just a matter of waiting. To some degree, the achievement is a matter of luck. The Ottomans can come kill you. The Europeans can really take over the region over here, Benin, Mali. They really are not going to go for you as Yemen. I don't think I've ever seen the Europeans really conquer this region. And obviously, India is rather safe. Outside of that, you don't have to worry about trade goods. Just to show you, I did develop this area up to 48 and 43 because I believe I popped 2 institutions here, printing press and Renaissance. Did colonialism here. And that's pretty much it. It's actually kind of hard to pull trade from this area, so you definitely need trade ideas and the Yemen ideas to actually make money off of trade. It's just unfortunate the way it works out. If you could theoretically conquer this area, you could redirect trade to Zanzibar, and that would also be a rather good trade node because you can steal that straight from Indonesia, Malacca region. So there's multiple ways to do it, but really Aden is rich enough. You make a fair amount of money. By the way, the only reason I'm losing money, level 3 advisors, it's really rich. Could have a significantly larger army. Had 56 for quite a while. As you can see, I never expanded after I got out here. And then it's just a matter of waiting. So yeah, defend your coffee. If the Ottomans come for you, gotta ally them or defeat them. But defeating the Ottomans is easier said than done. But I was surprised. It was relatively easier than I thought it was. I got a little bit lucky in this run. The other times I died at the beginning fighting all the other Yemen rebels. And then you just wait. There's no real indication you failed or succeeded in the achievement unless they get one of the coffee provinces. So one of your key things is to take these 4. Once you take those 4, it's rather just a matter of time. So that's pretty much it. Use the Yemen ideas to infantry combat. If you get a morale advisor, you've easily got superior troops to anyone in the region. Defensive ideas will just make it worse. And that's pretty much it. Religious for Ethiopia, exploration or expansion to get that colonist and go through this area. I think it was... I forget when the passage became open. I think it was like 1530 or 1540. The fog of war in the area disappeared. The unexplored regions. Terra Incognita, that's what it's called, disappeared. About the same time, Funge and stuff emerged, at which point I could cross over. So that's essentially the guide to do keeping the secret. It's not that hard. Looks hard. You have the tough beginning, but once you get rolling, as long as you've got an ally in either the Ottomans or the Mamluks up here, really no one's going to touch you. These guys don't care about you. Persia did start a war right here at the end, but I'd beat them if I was continuing with the help of the Mamluks. Also, just this is desert. You put a couple forts here, you can run circles until they die of attrition. The attrition is nasty in this region. Take defensive ideas. I found the best thing to do was make a couple of these provinces up here, which aren't rich, shipbuilding provinces to boost the force limit and everything. In terms of states, though, I really didn't do much outside of this area. A couple Ethiopian ones, and obviously this area once I conquered it. So you really don't need to expand that much. Religion is on your favor. Culture, I didn't really bother culturally converting anything except for a couple. It's pretty easy to gain cultural unity. Yemeni is all right here. You're not going to get enough of the Hijazi unless you attack them. Mahri wasn't really worth it. Omani was fine, and then obviously there's the Ethiopian ones. So thank you guys all for watching. Hopefully this helps you. If you got any questions on how to do it or anything, please leave them below. If you did enjoy this, though, please subscribe. Hit the weird bell icon thing for notifications. And check out all my other country and achievement guides. There's quite a few of them. And hope to see you guys all in another video. Bye for now.